Continuing with games that I would like to play. In this case, a game I have not ever played. Some of the ones I'm presenting, I've played it a little bit. None of them a lot. And this one, not at all. In fact, in a lot of ways, I'm just a guy with a game in a box. I got this at Gen Con from the company KN RPG Productions. That's Clint Krause and Amy Garcia, and I had met them and seen some of their work before that. And this is kind of when they went big. It's really a nice production. First of all, it comes in a box, nice box, and the book inside has the same cover. I've stuck the regional map, which is big, folds out as well. And it also comes with a fairly impressive, wad of punch-out counters with two sides and carefully integrated with the system, and you use these all the time during play. Well, I don't know what happened to the company. The internet sort of silences itself about them at about the same time that these games came out, around 2008. And I'm not soliciting the information. That's not important. I'm just letting you know that I'm very much kind of got this orphaned game in a box. Nothing else. And I want to play it. The basics of the kind of colorful situation, it's highly specific. I mean, this setting, this backstory, this situation, I mean, like wargame level specific. You don't play it in any other context. Very anime. You got to get your mind into anime visuals and, a lot of tropes or a lot of kind of aesthetic priorities. And that's fine. I mean, but just kind of get yourself there first, and then you've got your three factions or cultures. The larger picture of how this planet came to be in the situation it's in is a little less important. It's there, but a little less important to explain. But the cultures / factions include the Bruta, who are the native, hulking, trollish, horned-hooved, bestial, but spiritual and shamanistic, native species of the planet. And then of the humans, you've got two cultures, one of which is the Legion of Thrawn, who are drug-addled fanatics who wear, devil masks and, tap into these ancient secrets, runic secrets, in the worst way possible, and are taking over everything, basically. The cockroach horde of the planetary situation. And the Zadian Alliance, which at first glance is kind of your techno-medieval, alliance of principalities with its struggling politics trying to hold it together in the face of the Legion. And you can go from there. I mean, they've got their techno armor and they've got their, their cool political shit going on too, including their mages, who are a somewhat more measured or outwardly seeming more responsible user of that same arcane techno magic. Well, all of this is preliminary to saying when you play this game, you choose one of them. And that's who your characters are going to be part of. This is not a mix and match, our characters all are diverse, come from these different backgrounds, and this means you get these powers and I get those. No, that's not how it works at all. Each one of these is its own chosen framework for playing the game, period. And the others are active, but it's kind of cool in that sense. You choose like which game you're playing. To pick characters, to make characters in this context, you will have some of the same options across the three choices, or, and definitely very specific ones inside them. What is the point of play? What's going on? Well, you're going to be playing through effectively the fate of the outcome of these clashes. And your characters may well have unique traits. That's up to you as a player. You choose when you make up your character. You're like, ooh, this particular trait is only going to be available to one person in the entire setting, and that's me. So everybody could have chosen one of those, or nobody could have chosen any of those, and so you're kind of playing, normal characters, and that's okay too, either way, or in between. So first and foremost, you've got this huge clash, and you know that you're going to be playing through it, and you know that your character either relates to it as, the schmo or talented professional schmo, or somebody who's got some sort of setting hook planted in them that makes them important to other people in specific ways. Now, boy, where do I start? There's some really interesting phenomena here. First of all, everyone is expected to play strategically. There's a system for where are we on the map and what are our characters up to, and that system is specific to each of those three cultures. And the game master actually rolls, says, okay, well, this is the kind of mission-y thing that they're on, or the circumstances that they're in, and that means they're going to be here or near to here, on the map. And then things kind of scope down into more specific clashes. There aren't any maps for those. And the combat and other activities are very map-based. So I find myself thinking either they had other materials in mind, or there is some method that I need to dope out from the rules, or I can go trooping off to my Mutant Chronicles and Rift's Wormwood and, name it, 18 other suitable game resources that I have on these shelves that, there's your apocalyptic wasteland specifics for that spot on that regional map. I gotcha. So whatever it is. But the deal is that you are playing strategically in the sense of attempting to have your characters live or the mission succeed, what have you. But it's up to you when your character is heinously affected, whether to let them die, and you can pick up another character. You can make up another character quite easily. So are you trying to win the whole picture? Kind of. I mean, you want your whole faction to come out ahead? Kind of. Are you interested in how your character's personal issues, of which they may have many, I might add, when you make up a character, you can make up a pretty problematic person whose very existence may actually subvert, the nature of this culture that they're in, or its powers, its political efforts. So you're kind of a little free there. There's more freedom as a player priority than it may look, but you are expected to play to the hilt regarding the adversity that the game master is throwing at you. And the game master, of course, doesn't have to take care of your characters. Your characters can die and you can keep playing. So the game master's like, screw you. I'm going to hit you as hard as I can with all the priorities of all the other, factions or whatever who are invested in that situation as rolled. And I'm going to, whatever nastiness is embedded in each of your characters, of which there is much, the GM's going to bring it. So when I say play strategically, just keep in mind that, you need to keep your wits about you and use the system to the utmost, and use all of your out of player knowledge is fine, to simply keep yourself in play in the way that you want. That may or may not mean accepting that your character is dead. Who knows? So it's a really interesting, tactical, strategic expectation, and the fiction will be fine. So let me continue with a couple of other things that mesh with this. There's intersecting aspects of the system that what I've said so far isn't sufficient to convey. Specifically, that many roles, many outcomes entail what's called a time lapse. There are rules for a time lapse. When it hits, there are rules for what's going to change on that regional map. An outpost may be just destroyed, or this area might be taken over by that. I mean, there's roles for this. And so the activities of the player characters, if they trigger or voluntarily adopt a time lapse, means that, time marches on, the setting marches on, and there's a system for that. And the way that the game sets up kind of a new now from the character point of view, transformations of your character, consequences of their intrinsic, difficult circumstances or identities, consequences in terms of pure fiction, right? I mean, your character may be very embedded in the politics of the Legion of Thrawn, and you end up doing things that alter that fiction significantly. So it can be happening very much at that level, non-codified, but consequential from what's happened. Or it could be codified in terms of a time lapse or in terms of other things that literally create a new now for the whole setting. All of that is there. So you can play hard and you can make the choices that you want. Everybody, game master, players, you've all got your instruments and you can just throw them in there hard. Play personally for your character, hard. Play strategically for the mission, hard. Really do all these things, and the game is robust. The procedures for, okay, what is the next now? We've completed this mission, roll a new mission, right? Or this character's gone, bring in this character. All this is completely doable. So is it just about the way that these things, play out? Well, yeah, but there's more, because play, I think, cannot help but dig deeper into the backstory and the relationships among the significant non-player characters of these different factions. Sometimes it's the one that you actually belong to formally. Other times, depending on what you've chosen for your character in the build, it's reaching out into the other factions and drawing their crap in too. And some of it's actually pretty striking. For example, unsurprisingly, the Legion of Thrawn, well, Thrawn is an NPC, right? He's, I don't know, think of the dude in Legend, right? Played by Tim Curry, or any number of similar characters. And Thrawn has his own interdimensional or extraterrestrial background and isn't just sitting there to be obeyed. He's up to things, and interacting with Thrawn is certainly something that a character may end up doing depending on how interconnected they are to that hierarchy. What about the Zadian Alliance, who at first glance you're thinking, well, Ghibli Studios, right? They're techno-medieval and they're nice guys, and okay, really? No, they serve God. And guess what? God is also an extraterrestrial / interdimensional being who's right there on the planet with his priorities, backstory, not an abstract entity of goodness or anything like that at all. So you've really got meat to the what would otherwise be fairly, ordinary, just nods to common tropes for these things, but you've actually got some meat there for role playing and things to do. So given the kind of savagery of the potential outcomes, the purely transparently functional nature of whatever happens, with rubrics, roles, clarity, and content, right? Fictional content, if there isn't a rubric for it, to know what to do next. Sometimes deterministically, sometimes a qualitative judgment, but never from nothing. Never from, gee, what do I want to happen next, but very much of what is happening, what am I working with, and so this must happen next as I see it. So really strong in this regard. There's a system called medals, which are basically buffer points, but in the sense that they'll make your roles more effective. They will protect you against getting hammered so bad and stuff like that. And I kind of almost don't want the medals. I want consequence, not buffer. But you can also use medals for specific other things that are much more about making changes happen. So that's a good thing. So since you have your choice, I mean, it's up to the players. You don't have to say, oh, well, my job is to keep my guy alive, so I'm going to, keep the medals bank right there as a constant buffer. You don't have to do that. And there's nothing about play that means that intrinsically that you should. You therefore will keep your character alive with medals as long as you want to see what will become of this character's activity. They're not, quote, story-wise, done yet, as far as you're concerned. And that's cool. It's the only reason. Otherwise, let that one die and make another character and use your medals for, something else. So I'm kind of liking what I see. I want to do it. Now, I'm kind of bummed in this era of screen-only play because these counters, need to be utilized. They are very important for the placement of things in space relative to one another and what conditions prevail in this spot and how many movement units are involved. There's a pretty clean skirmishy system at work there, but you need that. So either I rearrange the whole room and set up the table and put the the table cam up, which frankly I should be doing anyway, so that we all can be looking at, the table as we need to see it as we play. If you start talking about, well, there's the app for, I don't want the app. Okay. I'm just by the minute getting more and more and more anti-app when it comes to screenplay. Well, anyway, so I want to play this so much that I actually am considering doing that room rearrangement with a nice light on the table and a tripod with a camera set on it so that we can actually do that. But the game itself, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's a hefty physical object, and I don't know what PDFs or whatever are out there. So the logistics of play, as opposed to gathering in a room and I pull out the box and we've got everything we need on our physical table together, which would be child's play. When maybe I should just wait until, the circumstances permit that to happen again. But you can bet, I mean, this is maybe, right up there. I mean, I want to play this one, have for a while. The more I read it, the more I feel I get it. And it could lead to an appreciation of the new now as a critical procedure of play, without any of the things that usually, in my opinion, suborn or subvert the willingness to get to a new now, a topic of some interest to me. So, Empire of Dust, there are other games by them too that either hit production or didn't make it there or something. So I'll be keeping my eye out. But in the meantime, if you're interested, definitely let me know because this is way high in my priorities.